Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another ReelQuick. This one sponsored by our patrons. First off, big shout out to all, I believe, 32 of you who have joined our Patreon. It's been incredible success that we did not expect to see within the first 2 weeks. And we're here today because one of the perks of being a patron on our page is being able to recommend a movie for us. And that movie will be turned into a ReelQuick, like this one, where we will give our thoughts on the movie. We all watched the movie this week. Even if we have seen the movie before, we are making efforts to rewatch the movies to be as prepared as possible for these ReelQuick episodes. So if you want to take part in recommending movies that you want us to talk about on ReelQuick episodes like this one, head over to our Patreon, join in. There's a lot of other amazing benefits. Our Discord is live, it's active. I think that's the one thing I'm most happy about in terms of Patreon, is just how active people are in our Discord, which is just amazing. So today we are going to be we're going to be reviewing Denis Villeneuve's Incendies, which is, I believe, his third feature-length film. A very early start to his career.
Do you want to say who recommended it as well, the username of the...
Oh, yes. Let's do that. Sorry, allow me to pull up the Patreon. My fault. I completely...
Go for it. I'll carry the airtime. So, yeah, I know he had Polytechnique before Incendies. I don't know what the other one was before, but yeah, his first film's all French, and then after this film, this was his last French film, and then he transitioned into Prisoners. I think was the first one after this, and then the rest is kind of history. He became one of the biggest named directors. But do you got the name now, George?
Yeah, I got the name. So shout out Eunice BBX for the recommendation. Again, we're going to post these once a week. So I'm not sure when we're going to be dropping this episode, but every week I'll just post on our Patreon, comment below what movie you want to see us watch and review on a ReelQuick episode. And if you are Patreons of the ReelTok Podcast, you have access to comment on that post. And the four of us will discuss within ourselves on which film we want to watch. So we decided on Incendies. I've seen it previously. I rewatched it this week.
I don't think anyone's seen it apart from you.
Oh, all of you guys saw it for the first time.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I did not know that. I'm even more excited for this conversation now.
Yep.
Because Incendies, for me, it's one of the most interesting starts to a career, especially where you see where Denis Villeneuve is now. He started with Polytechnique, 32nd day of August, and Incendies. And now he's doing these crazy science fiction epics, Blade Runner 2049, Dune, Arrival. It kind of mirrors the career path of Christopher Nolan, where he started with, Memento and Following, and now he's doing, Oppenheimer, Interstellar, Inception. So it's very interesting career path to look at. Tyler, we'll kick it off to you to start. How do you guys want to run through this? Do we want to just completely get into spoilers right from the start, or how do we want to go about this?
I think we can. I think why don't we do a round like we usually do, and then spoilers?
I say we always do non-spoiler, spoiler, interesting tidbits.
Perfect. So let's kick it off. Tyler, first time watching Incendies. You're obviously very well versed in Denis Villeneuve. It's not like you're unfamiliar with his work. What did you think of this movie?
Yeah, so I think it's a very creative and unique way to kind of show a war-torn Middle East and how its effect on the people who are dissenting and the people who are engaged in it and fighting for the cause. So basically what the plot of this movie is basically a mother passes away, and kind of her dying wish before leaving her will, like in her will and testament, she gives to her son and daughter a letter and says, like, hey, go to the Middle East. There's some family history that you have to uncover there. Go on this trek and this journey. Once you complete the mission, then you can give me the proper burial, carve my name on the gravestone, put a stone on top of it, and that kind of is the symbol of you completing this arc that you really need to go on to really truly understand my past as the mother of you two, and of the Middle East, where I came from, my roots, my family, my upbringing. And there's a lot of stuff that you guys don't know that you have to go on a journey to find out. So what you ultimately end up seeing from there is, in the span of about 3 decades, you get flashbacks. You also get the current son and daughter over there. So there's a lot of time jumps in terms of flashing between son and daughter, the mother growing up. You're switching between being in Canada, which is where they are right now, and being in the Middle East. So really, there's a ton of time jumps, location jumps. It's a very complex screenplay, complex film. It is based on a play. So it's very complex in terms of a lot of time jumps, a lot of location jumps. So I thought it was a very unique and creative way to show all this. Because, I mean, just like the movie opens up with you being like, the mom just died and the will's being read, and it's just very confusing because like what do you even talk, like I have to go on this whole journey now, like what does this even mean? So as the viewer you're like completely confused, like what's going on, and then just the way it unravels is very interesting. There's a twist we're obviously going to talk about in the spoiler section. Very effective. I didn't see it coming. And then I guess the only other thing I'll say before I'll touch more on it in the spoilers, but the only thing that like held it back for me from a 5, which like I wouldn't really say is a negative, it's just more so just I didn't feel like it was a 5 out of 5. I just feel like there was a lot of conveniences in this story. Like a lot of things kind of fell into place perfectly. And the story itself is a very far-fetched story, and everything kind of fell together really perfectly for them. Which, like I said, like I think the problem is, I think Seth touched on this the other day on like Twitter or something, or I can't remember. Someone touched on it, but it was like, I hate when the film's like highly rated, like a 5 out of 5, and then if you don't give it out a 5 out of 5, you have to spend the whole review justifying like why why. Like a 4.5 out of 5 is a very great score for a movie.
And then they're like, that's a 5. It's like,
right, like like my letterbox would be the first thing. They're like, nah, that's too low of a score. I'm like, it's a very, very good movie.
It's your score.
Right, yeah,
that's your score.
I will say to that point of why you have it at 4.5 out of 5. That was the original reason why I had it at 4.5 out of 5. I think there were just a lot of conveniences that were dropped on us. But upon rewatch and just seeing how effective like that twist and the emotional devastation of the screenplay was, the fact that it holds up as well as it does just made me elevate my rating to a 5 out of 5. Because very few movies, after rewatch have the same, emotional attack that they do. And I think Incendies really like holds that up. Like I've seen this movie. I think this was like the 3rd or 4th of my watches. I haven't seen it in maybe a year or so. And it felt like the first time I was watching it, I was like, oh, shit, like that was crazy. And I was like, it was just one of those films where it's a 5 out of 5 because of how much I respect what it did to me.
That's the first takeaway I had too. I was like, I need to rewatch because Denis Villeneuve's filmography in general, Prisoners benefited me on a rewatch, Enemy benefited me on a rewatch, Arrival benefited me on a rewatch. I think like Dune and Blade Runner 2049, like I've still really enjoyed on rewatch. I've only seen Blade Runner 2049 once, but I've seen Dune 3 times now. Still really enjoyed, but I didn't really feel like I needed them on those. But like the majority of his filmography, rewatches benefit you. And I have no doubt on Incendies the same way. Like this is definitely a film like I think a rewatch will add value to. Like at least 4 or 5 other Denis films like got so much better for me on the second viewing. But yeah, overall very haunting imagery, devastating story that's just presented in a very unique and creative way. And I very much enjoyed it. I thought it all tied together pretty well at the end, and that's where I'll leave it for me on the non-spoiler part.
Yeah, Seth, I want to turn it to you because I know you're you're a big war film guy, and Incendies is just one of the most just horrifically devastating portraits of war. It's a story of war told in a very interesting way. Yeah. How do you compare this to like a Thin Red Line or a Saving Private Ryan? How do you compare this style of a war-told story to, a traditional Apocalypse Now type?
I mean, it's kind of hard to compare, especially when it comes to like Saving Private Ryan. Obviously, it's based on quite a few different things. I believe it's based on the Lebanese Civil War. But then if you notice on one of the scenes, like you see a window and it says Palestine on it, which is obviously what we know from there. I'd say it's a lot more compact, a lot tighter. There is showcases of like what actually happens and how people can be treated there, dependent on your religious backgrounds and dependent on where you come from, etc. And I think the film itself is full of visceral imagery, which I would say with a lot of war films, it's instead of depicting the horrors throughout, it's just full of this kind of, obviously there is stuff in it which is quite horrible. The bus scene I won't go into yet, but that's horrific. That's really sad. But there's also just little pointers which kind of hint towards how people are treated in certain ways. So I think it's a little bit more kind of tighter and tight knit in terms of like a war film. I guess it is considered. That's one of the genres it has. Yeah, I think it is. I really liked it. I think I haven't seen all of Denis' films, but this would be my first now. I'm obviously missing Polytechnic. I didn't even know that it was, to be honest. And I was like his debut. And then I'm also missing Dune, which I will get around to. I'm actually quite excited for it. I've had that on 4K for like a year. I don't know.
I don't understand how you buy a movie and don't watch it, but more power to you, man.
I've got loads of stuff that
I'm
I've had
the
Thin
same
Red
way.
Line.
I respect that.
I've had Criterions for like ages that I just haven't watched, but like so far, I really liked it. The only thing that kind of put it down for me was, I don't know if it does dampen my viewing experience. It isn't very plausible, but then does a film need to be plausible a lot of the time to dampen it? But I think with a film like this, with a serious nature, maybe it does. Obviously, all of us don't really know anything about the original material. You know, it's from a play, and a lot of people have issue. The only issues I really see with when it comes to reviews, especially people I follow, is that it's not a great adaptation. Might be manipulative, but I can't comment on that. I had a fucking great time. I think it was riveting, haunting, powerful. I think some of the scenery was great. I think especially the main performance, I can't remember her name. Not the mum, well, and the mum as well, but the main two female roles were just fan-fucking-tastic. They were great. I just think it showcased something that we don't see in films, and especially when it comes to the nature of the Middle East, there's not quite as many films as there is on Vietnam, World War I, World War II, and stuff like that, and stuff that's still relevant in society, still happening. It was a 4.5 for me, and honestly, like thinking about it, I can probably see maybe another watch or two going up to 5. Like I really, really liked it. A lot of people said it's slow. I didn't really get that feeling. I mean, maybe it's slow, but maybe it just didn't impact me. I thought it was completely riveting the entire time. I think the only thing that was kind of like was the plausibility of the ending. You know, she sees the swimming pool, she's a tattoo. It's like it seems a bit like too perfect. You know what's happening right now, but to be honest, I really liked it, and unless Dune does something incredible, which it may well do, I think this is my favorite Denis so far. Anyway, definitely.
Which Denis have you seen before we get into Cam? I'm just curious because you said you hadn't seen a ton of him, or have you?
Me?
Have you seen?
It's just Dune and Polytechnic I haven't seen. Although I will say I haven't seen Arrival since probably 2016 it came out. I want to say I saw it like just after release, 2017 kind of period. So I need to rewatch that. But right now it's like a lot higher than Sicario, Prisoners, Blade Runner, Enemy. I will say I think Enemy is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. I think Enemy's really good.
Enemy's delightful. I have also on DM my 4th rank Denis, so I don't
really. What do you have over it?
Blade Runner, Arrival, and Prisoners.
Interesting.
Cam, before we get into spoilers, let's get your spoiler-free thoughts. This is again your first watch, so I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I really like this movie. Of the 6 Denny movies I've seen, I've seen Enemy. I haven't rated it. I don't know what else I'm missing. But of the 6 that I have rated, this is actually my 6th. I enjoyed it. Like Seth, you kind of touched on it. I did think it was a little slow, and maybe not slow is the right word because I didn't necessarily feel bored. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of getting from place to place, and I think it just kind of didn't pull me in as much all the time. It definitely has a lot of captivating scenery and moments in it. And I really did enjoy it. I have it at 86 out of 100. So still 4.5 out of 5. Like I really had a not good time with it. I shouldn't say, because this movie is quite a bummer at points, but I really did enjoy it. I also think, like you guys said, it does kind of take liberties and almost like feel like things kind of not fall their way upwards, but like fall into place in a fashion that a movie does, and that happens quite often.
It's not just this film.
Exactly. So that's like not something I take away too much for by any means, but I think the bouncing back and forth from the mom and the daughter, I can definitely see how on a rewatch, it gets better. But if on your first watch, like this was for me, it takes you a couple seconds, maybe. Okay, now we're with the daughter, now we're with the mom, and that kind of detracts a little bit from my personal enjoyment of it. But I think the script is really tight. I enjoyed it. I think the scenery, like I said, I think the cinematography was really incredible in this thing. But the couple things you guys mentioned, and I feel like it is a lot of walking, a lot of going from place to place. That kind of just at points.
The music was really good. That helped with the walking scenes because some of the score and the music used.
That's true. I'm not, I'm not a score guy as much as you guys, so I don't necessarily always find a score that I love. But I did enjoy it, I would say. Also, this is not a part of the movie, and I should have mentioned this on the on the like Reel podcast, but I don't know if I told you guys. We moved Bailey out. I think I said that. So, okay, now guess what I do? I watch movies on my TV or on my computer. Yeah, I don't know what the last movie I watched on my phone was, but it's been over a week, so no big.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, no big deal. So I watched this on my computer. This
definitely benefited from the TV watch, 100%.
No, this was a computer watch. I'm sorry. It's got a TV right here, so my wife watches and I watch like on my computer. So like I said, I'm a respectful
It's better
guy.
than a phone.
I got the headphones on. So that's pretty big. I don't know if I have a whole lot more. You guys touched on it, and I don't want to hit it over the head too much for the same things.
Yeah, we can move on and get into a little bit more spoilers and talk about a lot of the scenes that just depict brutal devastation. Seth, you already mentioned the bus scene, which just absolutely broke my heart. And then, of course, there's one of the opening shots of the movie where Nawal's husband, or boyfriend or whatever their relationship was at the time, gets clipped in the head. So we'll start.
Sorry, by
there.
clipped here means punched.
Oh.
If you clip someone here, it's punched. Joe being shot.
He got shot in the head. My fault. So we'll start there because this movie was so reminiscent of. I don't know if you guys saw Quo Vadis Ida from 2 years ago. If you haven't, I think you should.
No, I've seen it.
I think you'll all love it. It's basically another very intimate and very personal war-told story like Incendies. It just has to do with the Bosnian genocide, and we follow a translator. So, Tyler, we'll start with you. What did that ending kind of come out of nowhere, and what did it do to like your experience with this film?
So you're talking about the fact that their half brother is also their father.
Yeah.
Wild,
yucky.
This is like when I first watched Old Boy all over again.
Yeah,
that's literally what it is.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so crazy, disgusting, brutal, heartbreaking. Every word you could throw in the book, like that was just wild. And the thing is, like the way it gets kind of revealed. Well, like the whole like tattoo on the foot thing is like the biggest convenience I have an issue with. It's just like, so I've seen it. Okay, well, before I get into it, like basically, she's at a pool, and as a baby, got like this tattoo on his foot to kind of. Did they explain why he got the tattoo, or is it just like he just got that tattoo as a kid?
It was to be marked when he was in the system. Yeah.
Okay, so and then like later he's grown up, and obviously tattoos don't go away. So she sees when she's at the pool, she sees a tattoo on his foot, and she's like, oh, that's the same guy. He's here in Canada. And then she kind of has like a stroke from that, and that kind of really is what starts to deteriorate her health into ultimately when she ends up dying, because this is the mother from the beginning of the movie that dies and sends the kids on this journey. So a lot of people I've seen like to justify it, which again, it's fine, like because like so many movies are far-fetched, so like that's not like a big issue, like I'm saying, but it's just like a lot of people are like, well, when you expatriate from a country, a lot, like I know like in Minnesota there's a big Somalian population, and like certain like states and areas of countries is kind of more refugees from one area or people who leave from one area kind of congregate in somewhat similar areas. So like it's not unfeasible if they both moved to the same exact like kind of area in Canada.
No, not at all. I agree.
But like I could live next to the same neighbor for 70 years. I'm never gonna see the heel of their foot. Like it's just like it's very convenient.
The pool, to be fair,
but what about if you go swimming? Then you may sit in it.
I mean, yeah, but like, still, you have to be like swimming on the same day in the same area and like get out of the pool right where their foot is. Like, there's a lot of conveniences, but I mean, it works for the screenplay and it works well. But for me, and that's not the only thing. There's like a lot because they go on this like very crazy journey to uncover their family's past, and like in order to, cause I mean, their mom really gives them like nothing to go off. They're just like, go here. There's a secret you got to figure out. So then from there, you know, they have to
she
go,
doesn't
like,
help them really.
Yeah. Like one girl like works at a school, so she's like, and then like even that part was weird. Like it's some random school, and like, do you know what country was it again? That like they initially.
It was in. Well, they filmed in Jordan, didn't they? But I don't know if it was. I think it was Lebanon, wasn't it?
That city of Daresh is not real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a fictional city.
It's a fictional stuff which is based on the Civil War, I think.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact, Seth. They actually filmed only 15 days in Jordan. The other 25.
The towns were in Jordan, weren't they? The little towns that they
the
were.
other 25 days were filmed
in Montreal. Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
I brought a fun fact.
Yeah, so like I'm sure professors have a big network, but how she like went to a professor in Canada and she's like, I need to go to this like country in the Middle East. And he's like, oh, well, this professor, like I'm like real good friends with him. Like go talk to him. He'll get you set up where you need to go. So I feel like that was like a connection that just like kind of fell out of nowhere. But again, these are like not issues, but like we mentioned it in the non-spoiler part that there's a lot of conveniences. I feel like in order to move the plot forward, which you have to do, there's like a lot of things that fell into place nicely in order for them to be able to cover their story's past, which was gruesome, horrific. And yeah, that is just so disturbing. But for me, like the bus scene is probably the most heartbreaking scene.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
That happens, man. That shit happens. It's an occurrence that still happens today. So it's probably the most impactful, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite like points in this movie is when Simon, the twin, one of the twins, like makes the realization that his brother and father are the exact same person. He doesn't just blatantly like tell his sister. He kind of just like utters like, "Can 1 + 1 = 1?" And then her realization, that her like reaction in that moment just kind of like broke me as an audience member. And then it kind of like it's like right after she makes that realization, they pan into like a, Abu Tarek is, whatever his other name is, like they're the same person. Yeah. But I like that they didn't just like throw that in our face. They kind of like helped us like make that realization as well. But yeah, it's such a heartbreaking realization because it's, again, one of the most devastating images of war that we've never seen war on like a feature film like this. It's usually, battlefields, blow up, emotion, blah blah blah.
It's more intimate.
This is a way more personal story, which I absolutely
people don't realize. This is kind of like this is what war is now. Like it's not two sides on a big field fighting each other, right? This is what war is.
This is humanity.
Shot up at random point. And
it's just like a coincidence of war that like can happen, and I think the screenplay does a really good job at making it just this really intimate and tight environment that we can like, I don't want to say relate to, but like we can understand how something like this could happen.
But I'm sure people can relate, especially refugees who've come from Middle East.
We'll
see this
exactly. Anything else you guys want to touch on Incendies? I know this has been kind of a quick review, a little non-spoiler.
23 minutes. I feel like we got
pretty really.
I have a couple, points. This is the point I
notes.
I have my one note. It's pretty cool that Denis obviously was paying homage to the Russo brothers in Captain America: Civil War by putting the big city titles on every screen.
I hate it.
I actually did. We like the big titles. I didn't actually like that.
Well, so one question I have for you guys is,
I did.
For me, so like obviously this movie's in several different languages, but mainly in French. So like you need subtitles. But for me, like it wasn't, my captions weren't captioning for those like. Were they all just city names or
no?
I think some were.
Captions often don't for like big. I think it was just city names. If
locations and stuff.
Names.
Okay.
No, but I did like that because I like that we needed to know where we were because something like this spans crazy amounts of regions. So like it was important that like we as audience members weren't like, oh well, what's the proximity here? How fucking far are they? Where did they just go? Like we needed to join this journey with them, and telling us where we are was very important for this story.
I will say, I think like if I was to tell you the story of this and like tell you everything that goes on, all the locations they visited, I think this was like a lot shorter than I would expect it to be. What was it, like 2 hours 10? Mm-hmm. A lot of films would stretch this into 3 hours plus. Think about it. Like,
I agree.
And I think that's why some of the conveniences had to be put in place because, like you said, because I thought that too. This film could have benefited from being longer, but I think they tightened it up, I know Cam says they could have tightened it up more, maybe some of the walking scenes, but I think it could have actually been more fleshed out in some spots as well.
I'm sorry, Seth. I just wanted to piss you off a little bit with that one.
I'm kind of used to it with you now. It doesn't really affect me.
Exactly.
I'm like immune from
But also, this movie came out before Winter Soldier.
That was the fucking joke, dude. And also, it was Civil War, but that was the joke.
Oh, Civil War.
I looked up a couple fun facts. So, like, Seth, you mentioned the score earlier. If you listen into the score, the soundtrack in the background has like a prominent ticking noise, and it happens every 1.25 seconds. And so each tick is a whole day passing on Earth, if you didn't notice that.
I actually want to get rid of him.
With that joke,
I should have only told my one fake, but I have a real one. Actually real this time.
Oh, you're
actually
done?
real, because
Okay.
this is actually a fun fact, in my opinion. This is a real fun fact. The film did win Best Feature Film at the 2011 Adelaide Film Festival, and Denny went on stage and gave a speech or was saying, as a poetic sign of gratitude to the Adelaide Film Festival, I'll give the name Adelaide to one of my main characters in my next film. Thank you to thousands. Thank you to everyone. He has not done that yet. So Denis Villeneuve is a fucking liar. that is a real fact, and that's where we can end it. I find that very funny.
All right, with
He
that
has not done that yet.
hilarious fun fact.
we will wrap up this real quick. Again, shout out if you are a member of the ReelTok Podcast Patreon page. Again, one of the perks you guys get is this recommending movies that we will pick, watch, and review on a real quick episode. We're going to start doing this once a week. So if you are already a patron, be on the lookout for posts in which you guys will comment recommendations, and then the four of us will chat amongst ourselves and pick. As always, we thank everyone for their constant support, whether it's on Patreon or Twitter or YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd now. Thank you for tuning in to ReelTok episode 13, and we hope you enjoyed this review.
Yeah, one quick thing for patrons. So I'm going to edit this. So we're filming this on a Sunday. We're always going to be filming this right after the ReelTok episode. This is going to be uploaded to Patreon immediately I'm going to edit it, upload it whenever it's uploaded on the site, which should be sometime later. Sundays, you'll get it. This is another plug for Patreon. Like Sundays is when you're going to get our review of the week and our draft of the week, because we're about to film our draft this week. But for non-Patreons that are listening to this right now, on Thursdays, one of these will go up, and Fridays, the other one will go up. So you'll still get access to this, but much later, and you won't be able to, influence what we talk about. But yeah, see ya.